Hi folks, Tacitus today, your pushback channel, and thank you for joining this audio live stream. Please listen to this presentation as you would a radio broadcast. In this essay, I'd like to talk about the hatred of white people, which is just going off the charts. It's encouraged by the globalists. It's funded by the globalists. British police are even bringing in anti-white haters to be used as a goon squad to threaten local white British residents. Black gangs roam around just beating up white people for the hell of it. It's out of control, and it's very much encouraged. Those evil white people, white supremacy, Nazis, Hitler, and black people are encouraged everywhere across the world to believe, as brown people, by the way, are Indians and Pakistanis so the reason your country is a basket case and a total shithole, and always has been, is because of those evil white people. Then they did it, and so you have to get back at them. And this has been repeated for so long now. It's entered the school curriculum of Chinese schools and Indian schools and so on, and it's encouraged, of course, black schools, and it's encouraged an attitude towards white people which is just utterly insane. None of it is based on fact. It's all untrue, and it's all made up. But nonetheless, the invective of hate is certainly at fever pitch. And again, it's very well funded by people like George Soros, the ADL in the United States, and so on. So what's going on? Why white societies, white people, and white culture, white societies are hated, viciously hated, and yet. All of the third world brown and black peasants of the world, they want to come to the white societies. They want to come to the wealthy, rich, orderly, well-managed, or at one time they were well-managed countries with public transport systems that function, and schools and welfare. They'll kill to get to these evil Nazi fascist white countries. So they're like moths to a flame. They're drawn to the white country, obviously for the freebies and the handouts and the welfare, not because they like any they like the white society, but none of them really have the brain power, very few. So why are these societies rich? Why are these societies? Why do I want to go there? Now, the simple explanation of the globalists say, well, it's just because they stole everything from you. You'd be just as rich as them if they hadn't stolen it from you. Oh, yeah, they stole it from you. That's right, yeah. And that's really the level of analysis that goes on. And again, all the NGO agitators around the world in every refugee camp tell them this. You're only poor because the white people took it all. So you go over to those white countries and you take back what's yours. You demand a free house, you demand a free phone, because you're only taking back what's yours anyway, because they stole it. Oh, yeah, fuck, that's right. So the hatred of white people at all levels. There are so many commentators now. White people have got no culture. Okay, well, you're going to give up the car and the mobile phone. Yeah, every piece of technology, every piece you ever had was invented by white people. You're going to give all that up because following the scientific age and the Enlightenment, white society shifted towards the scientific and of course later the industrial and so on. So that's the modern expression of white, certainly modern culture. Not that it's absent other cultures. There's the Christianity and things like that which are fast disappearing. But the point is that whilst other cultures stayed as hunter-gatherers and so on. The white culture became productive, scientific, inventive, innovative. And so everything you see around you today, technologically, is invented by white people. So how many of these folks are, white people got no culture? How many of these people would give up all these technologies? They wouldn't. And it's only with great reluctance will they admit that white people did invent those things and have created the modern world. And I don't just mean technically. Things like the technologies, of course, are a big thing, but things like double column accounting, the rule of law, codification of law, independent courts, and all the elected representatives representing the people. All of these things are white innovations, and not simply innovations, but white societies actually made it work. So it's all very well to talk about a democracy, or some people get the vote, but it's only in white societies they made it work. Not for very long, by the way. Universal franchise, for example, is only 100 years old. So, and yet these people are drawn to white society. One of the groups that's particularly drawn to white society is of course, Jews, and they like to sort of mingle amongst white Gentiles. But what is the attraction, and why are the globalists viciously paying for and encouraging and facilitating the vicious maligning of white people, particularly white people that aren't signed on to the globalist insanity, and saying these people are terrible and diabolical and so on, but they still want to keep the host alive. They still want to keep those white societies, at least enough of a white society there, that the innovation and the wealth creation, that's so much a part of the energy that's created and unleashed by white social organisation, that stays in place, even while they're inserting all these parasites into the host. But the reality is that the only societies in the world capable of creating those stable, successful, wealth creating, the only ones are white societies. And again, I mean, you could argue Japan or so, but really outside of, if you look at how the Asian societies, even Japan in the earlier days, but how the Asian societies created wealth, they've just done it through stealing other people's technology and through using exchange rate manipulation and things like that. Not in their own way, they haven't had success. I've noticed recently that Hyundai cars, they were laughable. You couldn't give them away years ago. Now, you compare a Hyundai car to a General Motors or a Ford car of the same mileage and the same age, and Hyundai is the prize, but that's the one that commands the higher price, because now it's a quality vehicle, and it's reliable, and that's how it's perceived by buyers in the West. So it doesn't mean they can't add value through quality and things like that, but in terms of a successful society that again invents, as in original thought, invents and innovates, only white societies can really do, or have continually done that. And this is something that the globalists and do understand. So they have to keep that host alive, particularly if you like the Jewish diaspora. The Jewish diaspora's wealth has all come from, they enter into a white society and they benefit from the wealth and the protections those white societies offer through things like the rule of law, independent courts, and so on. And then they can start working to rearrange that white society to better suit their own, Jewish activists, better suit their own needs and their own requirements. But this is it, that these people are attracted to white societies. Every group wants to, every group all over the world wants to come to the white society, but none of them want to be part of it. None of them want to integrate. Most of them wouldn't even piss on it. They're just there to take. And when a sufficient number of parasites enter the host dies. And this is something I don't think the globalists have thought through. I would believe the globalists intend to replace innovation and the energy, those energies that are uniquely unleashed only in white societies, that they want to affect. They may be on a path, and I think they are, to do away with it and want to recreate a new society of where there's a critical mass of consumers that are forced to buy from a tight set of monopolies, and thus in effect recreating the feudal age. And this then guarantees the profits and the cash flow and all the goodies, and the wealth to be able to live their elite existence of private jets and so on. And I think that's the critical peasant mass forced to buy through monopolies, and I think that's where we're heading. I don't think it's going to work out well, and in the end, I think the attempt to do that is rather short-sighted. But nonetheless, we're on that path. We can only hope that President Trump is able to arrest that trend in the United States, and then there's a flow-on effect around to the Western world. I mean, we should be under no illusion. President Trump is the savior of the Western world, and I hope he does exactly that. You've been with Tacitus today, your Pushback channel, and thank you for listening.